Hey guys, I'm John. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here at, what's this park called, Dennis?
Mallard Park, I think it is. Mallard Dog Park.
Mallard Dog Park in Calgary with my friend Dennis.
Hi, John.
Dennis Kalma. And I got my big blue beautiful Alberta flag.
Fabulous.
And so the plan today, we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the ongoing events that are happening right now with Independence, and then probably walk up onto the trail over there and see if we can meet some people who want to share some of their thoughts on it.
Perfect.
So Dennis, you're one of the authors of the principal author, you keep saying, of the value of freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the principal author means I probably wrote a lot of the text.
Okay.
That input from others.
Okay.
So a lot of the writing, if it's poorly written, blame me.
Okay.
Did a lot of the calculations and was the guy that pulled the thing together into a document.
Okay.
We then sent that out for reviews to a number of folk.
Yeah.
Got their feedback back and eventually published it.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to talk to you because a lot of people that I meet in public, they always say, show me the evidence, give me the argument, why should I, give me the reasons. And I'm like, point of the value of freedom, read that. And then of course they never do, but now I got the author right here, so.
Well, it's a heavy read. I mean, it was not written to be something that the average person is going to take apart and you'll spend a late night evening reading, because it's a bunch of calculations, a bunch of data in there. The main thing people got to look at is what's the conclusion.
Right.
And is the conclusion solid?
Right.
And that is, the question was really, is an independent Alberta financially viable?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
The answer would have been no, we would have had one problem. But since the answer is positively yes,
Yeah.
then it opens up the idea that, yeah, as an independent country,
Right.
we actually will be at least as well off as we are today, and I think quite a bit better.
Right. Well, I agree that if the final conclusion, it's like one of the pushback that I got on it, and I looked into it a bit more, is like, how do you get the $40 billion or the 40 to 50 billion? And you were already incorporating a plus or minus 10% margin of error.
Yeah.
And then you were kind of averaging it over 4 years, I think, whereas other numbers are averaging it over like 15 or 20, like the Fraser Institute or some of that. And then they get more like a 25 billion. So, but the conclusion is the same.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind that we took every dollar that flows from Alberta into Canada,
Right.
whether it be for pension or EI spending or RCMP or taxes paid. We said, okay, that's the total sum of money, and then we looked at what came back.
Yeah.
So that as holistically as we could. A lot of times places like the Fraser Institute look really only at tax revenue,
Right.
and they don't necessarily look at other money that goes out to, let's say, the RCMP, pick an example.
So that also explains why the number is a little bit bigger then.
Yes.
Yeah. But the conclusion is the same. In my mind, 25 billion to 50 billion, that's a lot of billions. All we got to do is have a substantial net margin of improvement, and then financially we're better off. Like,
yeah, and I just was speaking to a guy this morning, actually an Indigenous friend of mine, and we were talking about a bunch of topics. But he sort of said, like, walk me through the math again.
yeah,
And I got to remind people that, first of all, I always use the low end of the range, the 25 billion
yeah,
of the net that ends up in our pockets. But you got to remember that also means, in addition to that 25 billion, we've paid the provincial government exactly what they get today, no reductions.
yeah,
And we stood up the services that are required to be replaced, so military, things like that, that have to be paid for as well. So that final 25 billion that I use is net of everything. That's the money we have left over from all the spending we have to do.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to play with for reducing taxes, for example.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that to me seems like something really exciting. Like, at the end of the year, we could be facing a situation where we eliminate income tax, according to the plan. It's possible, maybe in a year or two.
So this is where I caution folks to be careful.
Yeah.
Is the plan does not say get rid of all taxes. It says we have an option to reduce taxes materially.
Right.
So we went through two scenarios. They're a little clunky. I don't like them, actually. I did another set of calculations for Mitch Sylvester a while back. And take a good example. 2 people working, 2 kids, family of 4, making the Canadian average income, $120K a year roughly, and they would save about $1,000 a month in tax.
Yeah.
And then my question to you is, what would you do with an extra $1,000 a month?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would probably save it up and take a vacation. or maybe buy a house or something. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things like you can do, and that's a really pressing issue. You know?
Yeah, and you got to remember though, that's just the beginning. That's what we get if we don't change anything.
Yeah.
We also believe that you start going through some of the policies and regulations and rules and so forth that plague us every day, and start simplifying our world, reducing the cost of government, you'll end up with even more option to reduce taxes. Or increase spending. I don't like that option as much, but it's possible.
Yeah. Well, and I listened to your whole series, or the whole video you did with Bruce Party and Matt, what's his name? Rowley. That was such a good episode. And you're right. We could absolutely screw things up. And I think there was one comment, I think you said, it's like, there will be a period of time where after a successful referendum, anything's possible. Yeah. Or was that Bruce who said that?
Bruce who said
I think,
that.
like, that's, we could screw this up, or we could make something really awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
And so that's an important thing to note, is this will not happen by itself.
Yeah.
It will not happen just by winging it.
Yeah.
And that's why, for example, Keith Wilson, and I'm working pretty closely with Keith on building a transition plan with a bunch of smart people.
Yeah.
And this is actually to work out the detail of how exactly we get from the point of winning a vote to being an independent country.
Right.
And that requires a lot of planning.
Right.
And if we don't do the planning, I mean, what's the old line, right? Failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah.
So if we don't do the proper planning, do the proper execution, we can still screw this all up.
Well, I think this is what a lot of people are afraid of right now is, okay, we vote for this, and then what? You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I mean, I have a lot of faith in you and some of the other people that I see putting together ideas for this. You seem like, you know, you're doing your homework on it, but what do we say to all these people in the middle? What's the plan, the transition, right? So you're working on that. So what are you coming up with so far?
So right now we're just assembling the team. And so to keep it in mind, this is these are experts in their respective fields.
Okay.
We've got people with senior military experience. We've got people with deep experience in the aviation industry, international agreements and taxation, border and security, so on and so forth. We're just identifying those people now, and we're structuring essentially a document that will say, okay, how exactly do you transition military? How exactly do you transition air traffic control and so forth? And that we expect that to be done, call it in the July timeframe. And it'll be a big fat document. It'll be like several hundred pages is my bet. That's not something we're going to send out for everyone to read. What we would do is essentially say, okay, here's the outcomes, here's the things we can do, generally how to do it. The detail of agreement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with XYZ needs to be done. That's the detail that let the experts handle it. We'll focus on what does it mean for real people. What we're hearing so far is there is no insurmountable barrier. Not all of these things have been done before in the world. You know, other people have built up militaries, other people have set up countries, other people have set up taxation systems. These are nothing new. A matter of fact, we live in a system that works just fine. Canada collects taxes. Canada does borders. Canada does all these things. So we copy theirs. Worst case.
For me, that doesn't seem like a big problem either. Like maybe a temporary transition period where things are kind of rough and uncertain, but that's the worst of it in my mind. And I mean, I can handle it. What do you say to people who are a bit nervous, more nervous than I am?
I would say hang tough until you see the detail. Because don't believe me, don't believe you. I mean, until you see the documents and see what we've laid out and say that's plausible, then I wouldn't believe me either.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely. You said a couple hundred pages. I don't know if I can make YouTube videos about. That'll take me like 3 months to go through it. I'll try my best though.
Well, I think at some point you're going to have the people, and we're hoping they're all willing to put their names on the documents because there is a security concern for folks. But let's imagine we have a room full of these experts that are well known in their field, recognized as being skilled. If they say, look, we can handle this, here's how we're going to, maybe that's enough.
Okay, well, that's a good idea. And then so one of the issues that I pushed back on in the value of freedom was immigration. So to transition a little bit. And then to be fair, like my wife is Venezuelan, but she's a permanent resident of Canada, and I sponsored her to come here. And I pushed back a little bit on some of the proposals And I think I don't think the Value of Freedom says this specifically, but like the title is kind of sounds like it, like mass deportation and then going back 5 years. Let's talk about that whole issue. Let's start off talking about that.
Well, so first of all, we made some mistakes, some oversights. I'll pick your case as being a key one. Right after we published the document, actually a French-Canadian lawyer came at me and said he had a wife who was Japanese.
Yeah.
And she did not want to relinquish her Japanese passport.
Right.
She couldn't speak English very well. They conversed in Japanese.
Yeah.
And mother of 2 children.
Yeah.
And he said, you completely missed my situation.
Yeah.
And I go, you're right. I did.
Yeah.
So what we would add into the Value of Freedom is that if you've been married for more than 2 years, you get an automatic PR card to a Canadian citizen.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I feel like I put the bug in your ear when I was making that video. I was like, this is a conversation starter, right? This whole document was just meant to start conversations. Of course there's going to be things. You can't think of everything on your own, right? So I think that was a success then.
Well, yeah, and I think there's a bunch of places, because keep in mind, the only reason why we put any policies in the document is so we could do costing.
Yeah.
We know that immigration and deportation will take money. Well, how much money?
Yeah.
Until you put a policy in place, you can't cost it.
Yeah. And so, okay, now this was a concern that I also pushed back on is, well, I don't want an ICE-style deportation agency because I think it'll be really expensive. I think it'll be socially disadvantageous. There'll be a trail of tears. And I think what a way to start a country off. But I know a lot of people in this movement do. They want that. They want to see a lot of people just deported, all the students and all the foreign workers who came here illegally, saying they're refugees now. Let's talk about that.
Well, I don't see an ICE-style thing happening either. I think it's a reevaluation. The reality is many of the folks here on PRs are perfectly law-abiding, productive members of society, and why on earth would we send them away?
Yeah.
So it's more to catch some of the cases that I don't like, which is a guy's got a PR, commits a bunch of criminal acts, member of a gang, whatever you want to, and he's still hanging around. No, we'll put you on an airplane and you fly away.
Yeah.
The temporary foreign workers, I mean, the key word is temporary.
Temporary.
I worked in other countries. So I worked in the United States, I worked in Europe a number of times. I get a visa, it's got a time limit on it.
Yeah.
When that time limit expires, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
It's not a question of if, it's I am out.
Yeah.
So we're no different. Your temporary foreign work ended? Sorry, guy, you're leaving.
Yeah, I see it as a contract, right? Yeah. It's like you came here on a contract, and both sides have arrangements to uphold. So what I'm kind of thinking is, all right, the contract expires on its own terms.
Yep.
And then once it's done, you're expected to leave, and we just make it clear that, look, a student visa or a work permit for 3 years or whatever isn't a path to citizenship guaranteed. It's not like, right now it kind of feels like it is, right? You get your foot in the door with it.
Well, and you got to keep in mind, I think personally we're going to need more people rather than less.
Yeah.
So I think even if you are here in a temporary foreign worker permit, if you really want to stay and you have the points to qualify, why wouldn't we keep you?
That's it.
I mean, so don't start from the place of, in my mind, people shouldn't start from the place of, well, if you got a temporary foreign visa or you got a PR card, we're getting rid of all of you. Yeah. No, it's the ones we don't want. Criminal records, you're done. You're out.
Yeah.
And no skills, no language skills. Sorry, time to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. And I like the point system as well. And I do like the idea of getting rid of all the criminals, like immediately deported. I would set the bar really low personally. I would say, people may disagree, but like if you get too many traffic tickets, you get kicked out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be an upstanding citizen. In my mind, I don't know why we don't take such a harder stance on it in Canada. It's kind of frustrating.
Well, it's something we looked in pretty carefully, and that's where the policy as we wrote it is pretty harsh.
Yeah.
If you get any conviction that bears any jail term at all, you're done.
You're done. Yeah.
And parking tickets and traffic tickets don't really do it for me. But I think if you've got a criminal conviction and if you would have been a citizen, you would have gone to jail.
Yeah.
We don't want you here.
You're gone. You're gone. I guess, and then one more thing was Indigenous, the whole issue of that. I have come to a point of view that, maybe I'll just say, you know, the four options, right? Option 1, treaties stay with Canada. Option 2, treaties go to Alberta. Option 3, renegotiate. Option 4, throw everything away. Those are the four options that exist in theory, right? And so I'm like, I don't want to renegotiate anything. In my mind, I'm like, I don't want to take over. I want to renegotiate. I don't want to. If they want to keep the treaties with Canada, fine. But I don't want the Republic of Alberta to just take on the treaty obligations. In my mind, I think that would be a lost opportunity. Renegotiate or keep things with Canada the way they are. That's where I'm landing on that. What do you think?
Well, I've talked to a number of Indigenous folks, and just privately, and many of them don't want to be publicized. And I think the folks I've been speaking to anyway would agree with you.
Yeah.
They see it as an opportunity. Now, my belief is we're trying to balance some things that are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
You know, no one likes the Indian Act, and no Indigenous person likes it, from what I can tell. We're trying to balance the fact that we want everyone to be equal in a new country.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we also have to include the fact we did inherit the agreements signed in 1860, whenever they were,
right,
which promised certain things to this group of people. To me, that's like a contract.
It
we
is
have to. We can end the contract with the agreement of both parties. So I think it's more the opportunity side, which is, look, let's figure out what's there. Let's find a deal that works for both parties.
Yeah.
Let's sign it, and then you remain as citizens.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, my thought in practicality was, and I made 2 videos with Indigenous people where we talked vaguely about this. So it's not my decision to make, but you're just putting ideas out there. I think the hunting rights got to be grandfathered in for a few generations either way, and then maybe talk about getting rid of that, because it is a race-based law and it's a privilege based off of your race, and something like that. But they might not like that, and then maybe a one-time payout for all the treaty lands, but then it goes into a trust fund.
Well, I mean, that's an idea actually I favor, and I've argued with people about it. My view is, when I look at the treaties, and I am no expert, I go, you can keep your land.
Yeah.
The reserves are yours.
Right.
You own them outright, and the mineral rights in them. That's a given. But you look at the treaties, and they say, well, we're going to give you some cash, some trade goods, some farm implements, essentially for perpetuity. So what's the cash value of those? And I did a quick calculation, and it's in the 20 to 25 billion range.
Yeah.
We'll give it to them as a trust fund. We paid out the contract.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah, but it's like you said, both sides have to agree for that, right? And I would think that it would have to be a lot sweeter than even the present value of the tools and all that, to get them to really want to sign on. And I'm okay with that, because I just want to see this problem go away. Like the current status quo, nothing's going to get better. We just leave the treaties the way they are, and Indigenous people just keep getting what they've been getting. Like, that's not fair. I don't think they want that.
Well, the guy I was speaking to this morning on another topic, he says, I don't want to be a ward of the state anymore.
Yeah.
I want to be a citizen.
Yeah.
And he laughed and he says, I'll give you $6 trillion worth of land if you give me, compensation. 6 trillion being the value of the rest of Alberta.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's his calculation. But I think it's a clever way to look at it.
Yeah.
I'll give that up,
Yeah.
but I want something, that comes my way.
Yeah.
And okay. I mean, whether it's 20 billion or 40 billion or we pay them this many dollars for so many years, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I'm okay with it too, and I think a one-time good faith, let's really make amends here and move forward. Everybody's equal after this. Like, that's what I'm intending, at least by that.
Yeah.
Right?
I do notice that support for independence is higher with Indigenous people than it is for us non-Indigenous folks.
Yeah, that's weird.
And I keep telling people, look at the Rebel News stuff. They are doing polling on behalf of independence. It's extremely valuable.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
Because the messaging isn't what we think it is.
Oh.
So one of the messages is, I think we got a lot of folks in the Indigenous communities who say, I'll take my chances with the new Alberta rather than the crap I got now.
Yeah.
And I agree with them.
Yeah. Well, you use the word ward of the state. I've heard Indigenous people say that too. Technically, you and I are also like property of the crown as well. Subjects, yeah. So, I mean, we both have that in our interest. Neither of us want to be subjects anymore. We want to be truly free people. And that's what really gets me excited about independence, the idea of true freedom, you know.
Yeah, and you're in good company with that. I mean, for me, when I read our Constitution, and especially the one that Trudeau Senior messed
Yeah.
up, our rights can be overridden in the good of the country.
Yeah.
You're subjects of the crown.
Yeah.
These are all words I hate.
Yeah. I was going to make a video about the Constitution, and it was just such a boring video to get through. I actually recorded it about 3 times, and I'm not going to publish it. But I've read the Charter Rights and Freedoms, and I've read most of the documents like the North American Act, and you're right. It's an antiquated piece of garbage. Our rights aren't guaranteed. We actually have privileges, and there's a lot of notable things missing, like property rights, bodily autonomy. Those 2 things come to mind. Probably a bunch of other things.
Yeah, so I think it's been known, I've been editing the Constitution with the APP, and that itself is input from a lot of people went into that. All that stuff you just mentioned is there.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants those things.
Yeah.
The argument, as per the debate we had with Matt Rowley and Bruce Party a week or 2 ago, is that the right way to go? Is a constitutional republic the way to go? I think it is.
Yeah.
Not because it's perfect, because it's the best balance between the Westminster system, which Rowley favors, and almost a libertarian approach that Party favors.
Yeah. I personally am against Rowley's opinion. I don't want the crown at all. I don't want anything to do with that. But I do think the idea of having that one, the core stability that you can fall back on, that's a persuasive kind of argument that he makes. But I'm not buying it. And then I do honestly like Bruce Party. I really like him, but I don't think we're ready for it. And then it's just a really, really libertarian. Like, really, the government has no power, and then we're just gonna start from that point of view. And I love it, brilliant. But you're right, a balanced kind of middle. I want a republic.
Well, I'm speaking as a citizen.
Yeah.
In a libertarian world, if my neighbor does something I think that inflicts force on me, I then have to take him on.
Yeah.
There's, other than breaking a criminal law, I have to deal with this. I'm too busy. I'm going to work. I'm making money. I'm playing with my toys.
Yeah.
I do want some degree of managerial state. I just want it controlled and limited.
Yeah.
And that's where Party and I differ.
Yeah.
Now, the great part is, I think Bruce is a fabulous guy.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant man. I love his ideas, and he and I argue about this.
This is brilliant.
And we have a great deal of fun.
Yeah.
I was out for a beer with Matt Rowley a number of weeks ago, and we were debating like crazy. You know what? When do we see each other next?
Yeah.
It's not in anger at all.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes me exciting about it, because we got some intellectuals who are willing to look at all sides, and we're not going to ever tear each other up on this. And this is a peaceful revolution.
At some point, though, we'll have to decide.
Yeah.
And the path that's on is that ultimately the people of Alberta decide.
Right.
So there'll be something called a constitutional conference.
Yeah.
The way I imagine it, it would be multiple groups, existing government, even people from the NDP.
Yeah.
Obviously, academia, Indigenous people have to be there. I think there's other groups that need to be there. Maybe some groups are just plain regular citizens drafted like they worked for a jury.
Yeah.
And then we go through the Constitution bit by bit, make a draft, and put it out for referendum for final approval.
Yeah.
And then it's our Constitution.
Yeah. And that's how it works with every other country in the world. They get to this point where they're like, we're going to start a country. And, well, not everyone. I guess Canada didn't start that way. But, like, so many good examples around the world. It's like people get together. We can decide how we want to rule ourselves and how our future can be. You know?
Yeah, and there's going to be compromises. There's things that in Rowley's point of view, I agree with. That I go, hey, that's something I never thought of. The idea of a check and balance on
like
what could be the mob.
Yeah.
You know, I also like some party stuff. If the government doesn't absolutely have to do it, it can't.
Yeah.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
So I think there's trade-offs to be made.
Yeah. So many things. Like, we could sit and watch your whole video together and probably go through it all. But let's get up and walk around and see if we can start a conversation with some people.
Sounds good.
That's a good introduction. So let's head up this way, maybe.
Yeah, don't trip.
So yeah, I don't know if we'll find anybody, but I'm sure we got lots of stuff to continue talking about.
I have no problem talking.
Do you know this place well?
I bike through here, believe it or not, from time to time.
Looks like there's a bridge up ahead. Is that a good place to head to?
Yeah, why not? Let's head that way.
Okay.
Trouble is, I only really know it at bike speed.
At bike speed. So the way this kind of works is like, as we walk by people, I just kind of call out and say, hey, what do you think of Alberta independence? What's a good question? Like open-ended, polite kind of way to what would you think would be a good way to say that? Like, hey, what do you think of Alberta independence?
Yeah. How are you feeling about the state of Alberta these days?
Okay. Okay. That's a good one. How do you feel about the state of Alberta?
Or the situation in Alberta, however you want to say it.
Yeah. Hey, how do you feel about the situation in Alberta right now? With independence and all that discussion.
We want to be part of Canada forever.
You do?
Okay. Can you explain why?
Can I ask you a few questions?
Oh. Sorry.
Okay. Hey, fair enough. Okay. Hey, have a great day. So he says he wants to be part of Canada. I get that a lot. And then also, you know, I don't blame people when it's like random stranger walks up, you shove a camera in their face. It's kind of like, but this is how you do democracy, you know?
Like, well, and what gets to me, I have no problem with people say, I want to be part of Canada. I go, fine.
Yeah.
Why? Make your case. And so far, no one has come to me and said, okay, Dennis, here's 5 really good reasons why we should remain in Canada.
Yeah.
Especially when you say, hey, you can't use the word American as in not American.
Yeah.
You can't use patriotism or other feeling.
Yeah.
Give me real tangible reasons.
Yeah.
What do we get?
So, but now, I mean, the burden of proof is on us, right? Because we're making the claim, and I feel we've done a good job. I got like 55 reasons why we should separate.
Well, and not the least of which is economics.
Right.
I mean, I look at the onslaught of regulations and controls and limits that are being put on us with Bill C9 and others.
Okay.
And I go, what are my chances of influencing that in Canada? Well, the short answer is I can't, because I'll never win a vote.
Right.
Because normal people say, oh, well, just pick a government that gets what you want.
Right.
Well, how do I make that happen from Alberta's perspective?
Hey, excuse me. What do you think about Alberta independence?
Go Canada, go!
Hey, can I ask you a few questions?
No.
All right, have a good day.
I have my point.
Okay. Yeah, it's always kind of an interrupting thing, but yeah, C9, yeah, we have no control over what the federal government does to us. We're just basically doing what they tell us,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and I've said for a number of years, Canada is a very, very big country. It's made up of 5 different constituencies.
Okay,
The Maritimes, Quebec,
okay,
the Ontario point of view, the West, and
okay,
Indigenous people. How do they ever unify on anything?
right.
It's pretty tough.
Hey, excuse me, what do you think about Alberta independence? Oh, sorry. Ah, that lady came up right behind me.
Snuck on you.
Wow.
That's the problem with biking.
I mean, I'll see on the camera. She came right up behind me. You know, I don't like to be confrontational with this, but, you know, I just kind of politely ask people, and then a lot of times I do get a pretty negative response. I think maybe something in our society, like we're not used to facing people face to face anymore and talking about things. Like social media's kind of ruined us like that.
Well, and we've lost the objective thinking that encourages people to think through all sides of a question.
Right.
I mean, I don't ask people to accept independence just because I say they should. I expect them to understand the points of view,
Right.
understand the pros and the cons, and make up their own mind.
Right.
People aren't even willing to understand the pros and the cons.
Yeah.
So how do you have a conversation based on that?
Well, it's like our social media algorithm tells us what to think, and then we're kind of stuck in that.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, excuse me, what do you think about Alberta independence? Okay, have a good day. Eventually we'll find somebody who wants to talk. It's kind of like fishing, you know? It's like you just throw your net out there, and then eventually somebody bites on, but
Or not.
Or not. And it's happened to me a lot where I kind of walk around and ramble with these, but it's good that I got Dennis Kalma with me.
Well, but it is tough for folks to.
Hey, how's it going?
It is tough for folks to. First of all, we're on a pretty nice day in Alberta.
Yeah.
Calgary. We're on a vacation day off for most folks.
Yeah.
They're biking by or they're having a nice quiet walk.
Yeah.
This may not be the best time to be asking them, but I think there are places where, I mean, I'll go in the workplace.
Yeah.
Would be my bet is if you go into some companies and sit down with people at work.
Hey, what do you think of Alberta independence? I got some thumbs up from that guy.
Thumbs up. This is
Yeah.
good.
And he was nice. He rang the bell before he sneaking up on me, so he had to get the flag in the face.
Before hitting you.
Yeah. I know you're supposed to ring a bell when you walk. I got a bell. Anyway, you're saying the workplace. I wouldn't. I'm afraid to talk about it in the workplace.
Well,
'Cause-
it is a concern. I mean, one of the things I would love to see is that more business leaders stand up and say, you know, it is in the interests of our company
Yeah.
and what we do to be part of an independent Alberta.
Yeah.
Because
Hey, can I ask you a few questions? You got a moment? Awesome. Hey, I'm with Dennis Kalma, and my name's John, and I make YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And so Dennis Kalma, he wrote the Value of Freedom. He's one of the principal authors of it. So
I thought maybe it was a sub-author in values for Mark Carney.
no,
Yeah.
no, I did the economic analysis that shows that an independent Alberta would be far better off.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just too much. People aren't willing to do the research or see where we could be or where we could go. Yeah, there's going to be problems in the interim.
yeah,
You know, and everybody's worried about OAS and CPP. Well, how about oil and gas and everything we get to keep here
yeah,
and use for ourselves rather than just waste it and giving it away to Ontario and Quebec and BC and the Atlantic provinces? No. We are all for separation.
yeah,
It's the only answer. I mean, look at Carney comes out and Buffalo's Premier Smith into stringing her out again.
yeah,
And it's like, when's she going to just go enough? No more industrial carbon tax, no more emissions, no more, and the carbon capture.
Yeah.
The whole world has given up on it. The lady who developed that, this Liberal MP, she said once upon a time there was a need for it because the whole world was getting on board with the bad CO2 and everybody was doing it, and now Canada's left alone.
yeah,
We're the only ones doing it, and
Yeah.
he won't identify that and abandon it, or at least say we'll put it on hold and then realize it really is a waste of money. And it's a bomb that goes underground. That stuff, the CO2's been known to explode.
That's high
I mean,
pressure stuff.
For sure.
Well, and it's going to add. Talked to a guy a while back. Figured to add between $5 and $10 a barrel to our costs.
yeah,
I think it's 10. That's in today's dollar. And I think it's going to exasperate.
Yeah.
Because once Brookfield gets in there, Brookfield's going to manage the carbon credits. They're going to manage the pathways. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for letting me express myself. And
Yeah.
I appreciate all the good work you guys and John Bolton and Moose on the Loose and Jasmine Lane and everybody does. Love you guys. Watch you all the time.
Well, now you're going to be featured on it. Thanks.
That's all right, guys.
Thanks for watching. Like,
Well,
sharing,
what's your
and
program?
And mine's called Talking to Albertans. I'm kind of a new channel.
Nice. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
look for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, much appreciated,
Take
boys.
care, man.
Hey, thank you so
Have
much.
a good day and
Ah,
good luck.
thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, hey, take care.
Okay.
Really appreciate that.
You too. Thank you.
There we go. Enjoy the rest of your ride. Oh,
You as well.
just like fishing.
Yeah, it's different points of view.
Hey, what do you guys think of Alberta independence?
I signed it already.
Did you?
Good. You want to talk about
awesome.
I'm okay right now, thank you.
it? All right,
Okay,
no worries.
have a great day. Hey, what do you guys think of Alberta independence? What's that?
We'll see.
Can I ask you a few questions about your opinion?
It's all good thing.
All good. Okay, hey, have a great day. Oh, this is a busy road. Hey, what do you guys think of Alberta independence?
Not interested.
Okay, have a great day. Well, so that guy, he mentioned that we're going to be less competitive, right, with our oil and gas. It's like independence solves that problem immediately.
Well, the thing is, we would not do carbon capture. Wouldn't happen.
No.
I mean, we just get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Sell our product at world price, and then better off. I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And even I noticed the IPCC just changed their latest bad estimate, the
Right.
most recent one, to
Right.
say, hey, it's not valid. So the scary story they tell everybody, they themselves say it's not true. So
Like
why
what's
are we doing all
not
that?
true? I missed that part. Like, is it gonna, the carbon capture not gonna work?
I don't remember the detail, but it's something like they had a scenario that if we don't stop emission of CO2,
Uh-huh.
then sort of the world will burn up. Bad answers. I forget the
Okay.
detail.
Okay.
They've recently come back and said effectively that scenario is no longer valid.
Okay.
What they really said is the story's not true.
Yeah, they seem to change their predictions every 5-10 years. The world's gonna end in 5-10 years. Ice caps are gonna melt. All the polar bears are dead.
Yeah, exactly. And they can't even reproduce the past with their models. I mean, I worked in writing models of that type early in my career. And if anyone believes those are definitive, they don't understand computer modeling.
No.
So they're guesses at best, and to be basing trillions of dollars of spending on those models, I think is completely idiotic.
Okay, well, okay, so you have a bit of an expertise in this then.
Yes.
How do those models get created? Like, what would be a workflow for that?
So what they do is they divide the world into, and this is from research I've done, into 100-kilometer cubes, 100 by 100 by 100.
Okay.
And they presume the weather in those cubes is constant. So between here and Red Deer is 1 cube.
Okay.
Then they say, okay, this cube is slightly warmer than the next one. There's a heat transfer. There's a formula behind that.
Yeah.
There's moisture that moves, all that kind of stuff. And they do what's called a time step. So they say, okay, we'll do all the calculations on all 6 sides of the cubes.
Okay.
They will move forward 1 month.
Okay.
And then we do it again and project what happens to things like temperature.
Okay.
But they're all guesses. So you tell me exactly, for the cubes that touch the ocean, how much does ocean spray affect temperature? How
Yeah.
much CO2 goes in the water? How
Yeah.
much comes out? When it goes in the water, does it go into making coral reefs, or where does it go? So people make assumptions about that, and
Yeah.
they build them into their computer models.
Yeah.
Well, you tell me the outcome you want, I'll give you the result you want.
Yeah.
I'll just build the assumptions the right way.
Yeah. Well, it's like any kind of model like that. As soon as you have, well, you got to have some assumptions, but do they calculate like what kind of, like, how would you even go about measuring a margin of error on something like that?
Well, you do things, and I've done this in the past, you do what's called a Monte Carlo.
Okay.
You take a whole bunch of inputs, you run it through,
Okay.
and some of the models diverge. They don't
Okay.
work, they fail. Some
Okay.
of the models converge onto solutions for temperature in our case
Okay.
that are ridiculous. The world's going to be 98 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
Some are minus 94
Okay.
also. And they throw out the ones that don't fit their expectation. If your expectation is the world's going to get somewhat warmer,
Right.
you of course eliminate any of the ones that say it's going to get a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
So you essentially start modifying the result to your preconceived notion. It's true in every model.
Yeah.
So you run it over and over and over and over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and you sort of say, well, these look like reasonable outcomes, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
And on that, we're basing trillions of dollars.
Yeah. It's speculation, right? But then it's also ideology. I think at the root of it is all people need to be persuaded of that is all that's true and worthwhile is, okay, the basic idea, you add more carbon dioxide to the air, you increase the greenhouse effect, and then, you know, and that's all that it takes to convince the majority of people to like support all this.
They give some gobbledygook, they give some fancy answers, and they sound really plausible.
Yeah.
And most importantly, you have to scare people to death.
Yeah.
Frighten them. The world will end. It'll be baked out of existence. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
Once people believe that they should be frightened, then, oh, what's the
Yeah.
solution? Oh, cut back on your carbon emissions.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're on this track we're on.
Yeah. Well, and I was really afraid. Al Gore's video came out in 2002 or whatever, or 6, and you know, you're right, terrified the people into supporting stuff. It's almost like it's a conspiracy, hey? Give me a tinfoil hat.
Watch, there's a guy coming by. Don't want to
Oh.
get them hit. I am not a conspiracy theorist, but I do think that birds of a feather tend to flock together.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good.
So people who don't like people doing their own thing, don't really like freedom, they look for causes to get behind, I think, to exert more power to control people's behavior.
Yeah.
Is there a cabal hiding in a room somewhere that decides on all this stuff? I don't know. But I think it's more just you got a bunch of people saying, oh,
Yeah.
people shouldn't be allowed to have personal transportation called cars.
Yeah.
Let's control them with the CO2.
Yeah.
So you see all this stuff coming together, and people, and I'm lucky. I'm a physicist by training.
Oh.
I wrote the models for some years.
Yeah.
I understand how they work. Most people don't have that benefit.
Yeah.
So I at least go, hey, I get how those things work, and they make no sense to me.
Yeah.
But most people don't know that.
You just kind of baffle people with big words, and then they believe it. And then if it's especially terrifying, and if it lines up with their ideology that is part of their group already, then you've won. Like that's how political things can change like that.
Yeah, and that's sort of the mob rule thing, right?
Yeah.
Is you get a bunch of people believing that something is bad,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it becomes the common knowledge,
Yeah.
and that's the way it is.
Yeah. Well,
Better go on me.
let's see if we can talk to some of these other people here. I'll try to wave some of them in. Hey, what do you guys think of Alberta independence? What do you think of Alberta independence? Maybe this
Easy
isn't a good
breathing.
spot. Yeah.
We got to get the other side where they're
Yeah.
a little bit
Oh,
less
careful.
exhausted. They don't fall over.
take it easy. I like to gauge the public sentiment as well. I think, part of my goal is to get out of the little bubble, the social media bubble that I'm in. Hey, what do you think of Alberta independence?
I hate it.
Can I ask you why?
Why not be part of Canada? It's great.
Why?
Why?
Why not?
Oh.
I have some better options for you.
Okay. No, yeah. But my whole point is we live in little bubbles, right? On social media, we see our friends and what the algorithm feeds us, and we know this, but this is the only way I can think of to break out of it. Randomly walk in and bump into people, and sometimes they agree, sometimes they disagree, and hopefully have reasonable conversations.
Well, it's the reasonable conversation part that worries me, because just like we've seen a few times on this walk,
Yeah.
is a lot of people, I just don't want to talk about it, I just want to stay in Canada, whatever.
Yeah.
And when you ask them why, either don't want to have a conversation or they can give you no reasons,
Yeah.
which means they probably haven't thought it through.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, any thinking person that goes through the facts,
Yeah.
where would Alberta be if it didn't have equalization? Where would it be with lower government levels? How would all these things operate? People will land on the side of, hey, I think we're better off on our own.
Yeah. Well, except for the fear of change, kind of. I think that's the default for a lot of people, is a fear of change. It is a big thing. I'm like, honestly, when I sit
Go Alberta!
Hey, thank you.
We love Alberta!
Hey, awesome, thank you.
That was a surprise.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien.
Oh, sorry, blocking the road here again. Okay,
Tu perrito te quiere.
this is my doggy, Ricky. Okay, volveré más tarde.
We better get behind you.
We'll be back later. I don't want to block the road.
No, and I've ridden this path more than once, so
Is it pretty dangerous?
it's not dangerous, but this stretch is got a downhill component to it,
Yeah.
and some curves, so you got to watch it.
What do you think of Alberta independence? No? Okay. Yeah, it's like how does democracy how is it supposed to function, right? Apparently in Canada, the way that it kind of functions is the CBC tells us what to think, and then we kind of just vote a certain way. But I think going out in public doing this, like there used to be a town square where people would go and share ideas and like this.
Well, people used to have more knowledge of what they were voting for.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because they no longer teach civics in school. When I was a kid, I had education classes on how government runs and how it works and why it's good and so forth.
Yeah.
And so I sort of understood the issues at a school kid level, let's be fair.
Yeah.
But going to adulthood, you start understanding more and more complex issues.
Yeah.
And also you say, well, it matters which way I vote.
Yeah.
What does this party want? What does that party want? Is there a difference?
Yeah. Well, and me too. Like, I've been thinking about politics my whole life. I've been engaged. I've voted every single election I possibly can. Hey. And I take pride in that. Like, I've been engaged in my country, and it means a lot to me. And I've thought about the philosophy of government a lot. And it feels like now it's kind of coming together because, look, we can create a system of government that represents our values and meets our needs and, preserves our culture and our heritage. Like, we can do that.
Yeah, and I mean, my first eye-opener to government was actually the NEP back in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
So I was a young guy, just started with Shell.
Okay.
And, I was happy, the company was doing great, and also the NEP hit, and the place slowed down almost immediately.
Yeah.
I'm going like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I might lose my job because of these crazy people in Ottawa
Yeah.
putting all these stupid taxes and rules in place. Like, how can they do that?
Yeah.
And so I didn't know much, but I don't like this.
Yeah.
And so that's where I began to say, maybe government isn't such a great deal after all, the way we have it today. And that continued over the years until finally, I got into like the debt bubble, the 2008 crisis,
Okay. Yeah.
and just the complete waste and lack of thinking.
Yeah.
And I go, so now the government's borrowed us up to the wazoo.
Hey, what do you think of Alberta independence?
Sorry?
What do you think of Alberta independence?
I disagree.
You disagree?
You want to talk about it?
Can I ask you a few questions?
Well, she's here now.
Oh.
I was
Okay.
just waiting for her.
Okay, enjoy your bike ride.
Have a good
Thank
one.
you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Yeah, keep it safe. Okay, well, kind of going back then to the republic idea. What's the difference between a republic and a commonwealth? Because I'm really confused about that. I've really tried to figure it out.
So, they're actually the same thing
The same
in many
thing.
ways. Yeah.
Okay.
Commonwealth just means where the people are the highest authority.
Okay.
Republic is a version of a commonwealth in many ways.
Right.
So the trouble is that Commonwealth gets associated with the British Commonwealth,
Aha.
which I don't like either.
Yeah.
But they've got to remember, there are some really ugly republics in the world. People's Republic of China.
Yeah.
Pay attention to that one.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what the rules are, what the Constitution is, how government operates, how people get represented, whether their vote gets counted. All those things have to work for a functioning country to be in place.
Right.
So if someone said it's the Commonwealth of Alberta, I go, fine.
Yeah.
Say the Republic of Alberta, fine.
Okay.
I don't-
Okay. Yeah, that's what ChatGPT told me, and I was just associating with the British Commonwealth, and I'm like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. But when I think republic, I'm thinking like United States or Rome.
Yeah, not the People's Republic of China.
No, I'm not thinking of them. But yeah, I mean, okay. So what are the benefits then of a republican system as opposed to the constitutional monarchy that we have?
So there's a fundamental difference. Constitutional monarchy, the country is owned by the king,
Yeah.
and the people are subjects of the king, and the people advise the monarch to do this or that. Hey,
Yeah.
we want to make a law to do something.
Yeah.
The monarch says, yeah, that's in the good of the nation, let's do that.
Yeah.
In theory, the monarch can say, no, that's not in the good of the nation. You guys go do your homework again.
Yeah.
So that's the way a constitutional monarchy works. A republic is the other way.
Yeah.
People are the highest authority. Those people have embedded how they want government to run in a written document called the Constitution.
Yeah.
And all laws must be tested against that Constitution. And the Constitution itself can only be changed by the people.
Yeah.
And that's the rules.
Yeah.
So those are the fundamental differences.
And like we can have that in Alberta.
Totally.
We can absolutely throw off the monarchy. I'm not going to be the subject. Hey, how's it going?
Let's go.
Hey, can I ask you a few questions?
No,
Oh,
Have a good day.
you too.
have a good day.
You too.
You sure you don't want to be on a YouTube video? Okay, but you support independence.
I love what you're doing though.
Oh, hey, thank you so much. Have a great day. Take care. Hey. I wasn't sure if he was trolling me there for a second. You never really know.
No, people are people. They have their opinions, right, wrong,
Yeah,
justified or not.
yeah. Well, and this is what I love about this, is coming out in public and seeing the different opinions. How many people actually engage? Like, in my mind at first I thought, if we can just get all the people who don't vote to vote for independence, we win. As sad as that sounds, it's probably true.
Well, I personally, it's a personal opinion.
Yeah.
I would say there's a fine for not voting.
Okay.
So, you don't vote, you essentially get a parking ticket for it.
A fine for not voting. What countries do that? Does it Australia do that? I
I
thought.
think Australia does that.
Yeah.
And the reason why is, if we're going to have a country for the people and by the people,
Yeah.
you better get the people engaged in whatever decisions you
Okay.
make. Hello, how are you?
Good. Oh. I thought he was going to ask us. Okay, carry on.
So I think it should be, you don't show up for a vote for some
Yeah.
without good reason, that'll be $50 there, John.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, I get where you're coming with that. I also take it the other way, because the counterpoint is like, look, everybody voting doesn't actually, I think, help the system at all. It's like we want the informed voters. So people who don't want to vote, it's like you're kind of just selecting yourself out, you know. Hey. Hey, what do you think of Alberta independence? Hey.
We're with you.
Yeah. Hey, can I ask you a few questions? I don't know, thumbs up, is that a good thumbs up?
I think it was a good thumbs up,
Yeah.
personally.
Okay. But so, you know, one thing that amazes me about elections is once you get about a critical threshold. Hey, thank you so much. Hey, woohoo. Hey. There's some supporters. Once you get over a threshold, like say you watch the votes coming in for a municipal election is a really good example.
Yeah.
The first the batch of ballots that are counted pretty much reflects the whole thing for the rest of the thing. You might see one candidate switch with another candidate halfway through and that's it. Like the elections are decided, statistically speaking, we don't even need the majority. We just need a large enough sample size and we get it.
So, I always love Winston Churchill's quotes.
Okay.
And he said, the best case against democracy
Yeah.
is 5 minutes with the average voter. And the trouble is, he's right.
Yeah.
But I'm also a believer in the laws of large numbers.
Yeah.
So one person is dumb or smart.
Yeah.
10 people can be dumb or smart.
Yeah.
100,000 people, they're starting to approach pretty sensible.
Yeah.
1 million people,
Yeah.
I trust their opinion.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think on elections, because you're getting a random sample
Yeah.
of that million voters. And in that random sample, you have the wisdom of the million.
Yeah.
Unless it's close and then it wavers back and forth. So back to your point about you don't want people, uninformed voters, to vote.
Yeah.
My view is, I don't want my government, anyone, making that
Make
decision.
that decision. Except for the people themselves. They select themselves out because they don't want to vote. Then they don't.
Yeah, but I've also know people, they're smart, they're informed. I can't be bothered.
Right.
I mean, I do things like have election day.
Right.
It's a holiday. There's no reason why you can't vote, John.
Yeah. Well, there's still going to be lots of people that can't make it for some reason or another.
Sure.
But
So excuse them.
yeah.
You got to go in front of a magistrate and say, hey,
Yeah.
or make a case online, whatever the case might be. But
Yeah.
I actually have landed on the view that I want my million smart people in aggregate
yeah.
to make my decisions
Yeah.
regarding the government.
Yeah.
And I don't want to detract from that by saying, well, if you don't show up, your opinion doesn't add in.
Well, it definitely adds some value and some purpose to being a citizen. Like the whole reason you're a citizen is because you can vote and decide things, right? Like that's really the only difference between my wife and I right now is she's effectively Canadian as a permanent resident, but she can't vote.
Yeah.
She gets to pay taxes and do everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
No, and but I also think that even if you were born here, and certainly if you come here to become a citizen,
Yeah.
the citizenship test should be hard.
Yeah.
It should require good knowledge of how government operates and
Yeah.
and how the various parties have a point of view and
Yeah.
and why your vote is important.
Yeah.
So you don't have people going into it saying, oh well, doesn't matter if I vote or not.
Right.
I also would argue that part of the reason why you see some voter apathy is they don't believe in the result.
Yeah. Hey, what do you guys think of Alberta independence? Yeah? Can I ask you a few questions?
No,
Okay, have a great day. Hey, let's go stand by that corner for let's close off this video. Maybe somebody else will walk by. But this seems like a good corner. Okay, well, I'm in favor of that, but at the same time, not voting is a vote. How do you square that one? Because
Well, okay, so let's explore that for a moment.
Okay.
All right, so let's make a deal here. If less than 2/3 of the people show up to vote,
yeah,
it's not valid.
yeah,
The election has to be rerun.
the whole election is just thrown out, and so then not voting is a statement.
It's a statement.
Yeah.
So people say, I refuse to vote on the question because the question's bogus.
Yeah,
Okay, stay away.
that's a brilliant answer to that, actually.
Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
But my point is, there has to be an impact. Because if I don't I'll pick on candidates. Let's say
Yeah.
there's two guys running for office.
Yeah,
I don't like either one.
yeah,
Wouldn't it be cool to be able to make a statement saying, get two smarter guys. These guys
Yeah.
aren't bright enough to work
Yeah.
here.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, sure. But then in Bruce's party system, they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs anyway, right?
Well,
They don't have a lot to do because the government can't do anything.
can't do anything, yes. Well, but I would argue that if both candidates are bad, then they have to have a rerun.
Yeah,
Maybe even you just say automatically, if you don't get a majority of vote,
yeah,
a majority of people voting, like 66%,
yeah.
then new candidates start
Yeah.
over.
Why did you get into this on a personal level? Because there's a huge sacrifice for you: time, reputation, money. Why did you get into this?
Because I don't see another choice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the track we have with the rest of Canada is so bad, and I see no path out of it. We're going to keep re-electing Liberal governments,
yeah,
and even worse, the Conservatives are not that much better,
no,
marginally better. So we're going to continue to have the same bad structure, relatively bad governments
yeah,
that'll just continue to erode our freedoms and take our money.
yeah,
And at some point, I got to the point where I said, somebody's got to do something. And when Jeff Rath said, hey, can you write a business plan?
yeah,
I said, sure. He said, okay.
yeah,
Okay, then I guess it's me.
yeah. And that's my exact point too. Is somebody's got to do something, and what can I do? I got a GoPro, and I can point it at people who are smarter than me.
Well, I know about that, John, but I mean, you're certainly braver than I am. But no, I mean, it's not without worry.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have governments that are known to be friendly. Look what they did to the convoy.
Yeah,
They don't have governments that like criticism.
yeah,
And so it's not like it's without risk, but at some point you say, well, continuing with what we're doing
Yeah.
unchallenged is also risky.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. There are risks to staying, and there are risks to leaving, and I just think the risks to staying are much higher than the risks to leaving at this point.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. I always give one more thing for the camera. What would you like to say? One more thing for the camera.
People, go to the friends that are undecided and talk to them.
Yeah.
Force the conversation. Do what John's doing. Require them to ask
Yeah.
why you want to leave,
Yeah.
and then have the conversation.
Yeah. Let's have more conversations. Thank you everybody for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll leave lots of info about Dennis Kalma down below so you can follow him on all his social media. Cheers.